Hi, my name is Jonathan Lewis, and I'm a student at Whitman Regional High School. As part of Whitman's 150th anniversary celebration, we are speaking with longtime Whitman residents. Today, we have Tom Evans.
How you doing?
Hi, Tom.
Hi, Jonathan.
So first question, Tom, when did you move to Whitman?
I moved to Whitman after I graduated from college at Bridgewater State in 1968, and I've been here ever since. We lived originally on Charles Street for 5 or 6 years, then we went to Beale Ave for 25 years, then we built a home up at Meyer Farm. We stayed there for 13 years, and now I live in a condo down by the fire station, between the fire station and Rosen Realty.
Is Charles Street close to any of those?
Oh, yes. Charles Street is, you know where the gas station is? Right across from Stetson Street in that area. Just before Court Street.
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
So the next question, is your neighborhood the same today as it when you moved in?
Yeah, primarily. It's funny, when we first moved in, there were a lot of kids. And we had young children. We had 2 boys, and the next door neighbor had 2 boys, and a lot of the people downstairs had 2 boys. And there were a lot of kids that were in the neighborhood that they played with down the park. We used to walk down the park. And now I think predominantly has changed a little bit to a little older group. And the people that had homes down at the end towards the cemetery, down towards Colebrook, that's changed a little bit. I don't know who lives there anymore. But yeah, the neighborhood, it's a nice neighborhood, it really is.
Changed quite so much.
Yeah.
Remembering your time as principal, what comes to your mind as an important event for the children of Whitman?
Oh boy, a lot of them. I think there were 2 things that I think helped a lot. One, when I got there, the principal was Bernie Powers. Bernie's 5'3", but packed with everything. He was a kid's advocate. He was funny. We fooled around with him. We gave him nicknames. We did, we'd go out to the intramural. Alvin Bennick and I would go out there and we'd throw the football around and we'd come in. He'd be sitting there, we'd bounce the football off his phone. He'd say, what a bunch of dopes you are. And 2 minutes later, he's going out for pass patterns in the hallway and everything else. So we had a lot of fun. So that, I think that license to be who you are and have fun with what you're doing was important. And then the other thing is, after a few years, we did 2 things that I think were important. The first thing we did was outdoor education. And I was an interim principal at the time. Alvin Bennick and I and Jeanette Spinelli had gone to some courses, sleeping out in Punkapog, golf course and all that stuff. So we were really into it. We thought the kids might like it, and they did. And that went on for 20-something years. And one of the most important things about that was community. And the 5th grade kids were going to go somewhere, but they knew that in, let's say, September of that year, so they would start fundraising. And what was really important was the involvement of our parents. They were unbelievable. A lot of people didn't have a lot of money in those days, and the expenses were basically, 1, the camp that we would go to, and 2, transportation. So the kids would have different things to do, and we'd do different things. So that was really good. That kind of set the tone of you can have a lot of fun if you get an opportunity to have some experiences rather than sit in the classroom.
Did you make a lot of unique experiences? Oh, sorry.
No, that's all right, Jonathan. And then the other one that I think is that probably most people think is crazy is I recognized right off the bat I had a lot of young teachers, and they would send kids to the office for things that I go, oh, really? Oh, wow. So I suggested to them, and I didn't know if they were going to buy it, let's have a sleepover, second graders. And they go, a sleepover? Yeah. What do you mean? A sleepover. Where would they sleep? In the cafeteria, on mats. We'd have come in at 5 o'clock. We'd do activities. Everything was assigned, and you signed up. Then after that, we would have time for supper, usually pizza and salad and stuff. Then after that, they broke out for other things, basketball, drawing, art, storytelling, blah, blah. Then after that was time for bed, so we thought. And bed went from about 8 till about 1 in the morning. But the good thing about it was, I remember that I didn't want anybody to take my picture. I knew they were trying to get me, right? I'm trying to outfox these guys, so I parked myself into the AV closet, locked the door. Next one, I couldn't get it open. I'm banging on the door because I didn't get my picture. But and then we told the parents right after our kickball game after breakfast, you come pick your kid up. Well, some people thought 11:30 was right after breakfast. I was so tired, stayed all night pitching softball. I was like, oh, I got to put a time to pick them up next year. But you know what? That was a lot of fun, and I think when I see kids, they talk about it. But you know what it did? It instilled understanding in kids for people who didn't have children. For example, somebody would say, that little Johnny, what a pain in the butt he is in school. He was so nice last night. He helped this one. And you know the one who's always whine and complain. I go, well, now you're going to see. And that's what happened because of it. And I remember when I presented to the school committee, I won't mention the nurse, but she objected to it. That's not right to do. What's that? Because kids are going to be wet in their beds, and the kids kind of this, and they're going to be embarrassed, and you're going to be on the floor. It's going to be dirty. I was sitting there boiling, and of course I wasn't a principal yet. I was only the interim. I said, well, let me just tell you, Mrs. Blank. One, we already know who the bedwetters are, and we did. We were going to make sure we checked every one of the bedwetters. Two, the policy was if somebody got fighting, missed their parents, we'd deal with it. If they wanted to go home, we'd bring them home. And thirdly, the thing that she tried to say there was a problem was that it was dirty. I go, do you ever go camping? You ever sleep in a sleeping bag on the ground? We're going to wipe down every one of our mats with alcohol, and then we're going to do that. So they approved it for 1 year. For 27 years, we did it. So there you go.
Seems like you fostered a deep connection with these kids.
The kids were great. I mean, everybody got a nickname. You know, everybody. In fact, I'll tell you one story. First day of school, the day before, I'm standing there, go, okay, Evans, tomorrow's the day. And I had my class list. I looked at the class list trying to figure who would be who. And one kid, Kyle Ruoff, I said, oh, he must be a great athlete. Because Kyle Rote was a great football player for the Giants. So I get there and I do attendance, and I'm going, Kyle Ruoff, and this little girl who looks just like Howdy Doody goes, here, and I go, you're Kyle Ruoff, you look like Howdy Doody. And guess what? She's 67 years old, and I still call her Howdy, and she still calls me Mr. Evans. So giving kids nicknames, I'll give you one more example because I don't want to be here all day talking about that because I could. But we had two kids, the little Forrester kids, April and Fathom. They were nice kids. And we had to give them a nickname, so Ben goes, oh, Fathom. That's a depth charge. It's 6 feet under the ocean. When you drop a tornado, it goes to certain fathoms. So she became Fathom. And then April, who was born in what month?
April?
No, November. That's her nickname, November. So everybody got something. It's just the thing. I realized there was a nickname given to me later on, which I shouldn't divulge, but it's something like Fat in a Can, Crisco. I go, I didn't know I had a big yin-yang. But anyway, kids were kids. We had a lot of fun. We took kids in the corridor, and we used to wrestle them, like just fooling around with them. And then I remember one day when there was an incident, somebody abused some little kid somewhere, and the notice comes down. No more holding hands at recess with kids. I'm going, what? No. We held hands. If the kid wanted to hold your hand, you held a hand. You know what I mean? So there were some things that you dealt with that even though somebody said from the top, don't do it, we did it. Or somebody said, do it, we didn't do it. Suppose that, you know. That's the way it is.
All right, then. I guess we can move on to the next question.
You're a good man, John.
What modern items do you remember being introduced during your lifetime? Quite a bit.
Oh, during my lifetime? The wheel? No, probably color TV. When I was in Brooklyn originally. In 1949, we had a TV, which nobody else had. We didn't have any food, but we had a TV. And then we went to a town called Lake Pleasant. We didn't have any food, but we had a color TV. So you figure it out. We used to put quarters in it, like you do a parking lot meter to give you 15 cents. And my father would really get angry. You'd put in maybe 75 cents worth. And with 10 minutes left, it'd go off with no quarter.
For the TV, you paid to
Yeah, he didn't pay his bills. So he did it, yeah. So that was one of the things. And I think the other thing, rocketry and the journey to the moon and so forth. Kennedy was really important for that. And I remember the first time they were doing the Shepard one, which was just to go out of space and come back. All the kids were gathered. It was like, oh. We did that for about a couple of years. And after a while, it got old, believe it or not. Can you imagine that?
That would never be good for me.
Yeah. And then computers. I give all the credit to John DaCosta, who was the former superintendent. He saw the value of it, and he came under a lot of scrutiny one year when he had put $25,000 for new windows for the whole school, which is now condominiums on South Ave, 110 South Ave, and he didn't do that. He bought Apple IIe computers, and the kids got computers, and then Mr. Sutherland was one of the fellows from Bridgewater State. His kids went to school. He trained the staff. That was really important because fast forward, he made the commitment, particularly in middle school, for kids to learn the computer. My son, who attended Bentley, said, I was way ahead of everybody else because we had computers already. You don't think about us in the pace, but we did, and we didn't have a lot of money, but right decisions about the right things,
You invested in the child's future.
Yeah, really good.
What Whitman historical event, person, or personal experience is your favorite since living in Whitman?
Historical event. The one I missed was the last birthday. I was in East Bridgewater for 1 year. I missed everything. I didn't know what was going on. But historical event. The Centennial is one, and I think the building of the middle school was another one in terms of what my life changed, because we had kids that were from all over the town kind of interspersed. After that, we had neighborhood schools, which I think were way better. There was a feeling of family in the schools. Kids, instead of going, when I first started there, we had no kindergarten, we had no first grade, we had no second grade, and we had no third grade in our school. But each year, as we get closer to the completion of the middle school, we got up to K through 5. And then that was a community. Parents stayed for 6 years. They got to know each other. They got to know the teachers. Teachers got to know the kids from the year before, rather than send them off every other year and get a new batch in. So I think that made a difference. And it was a sense of pride, too. It was a new building. And it was the focus of a lot of things, athletics and after-school programs and all kinds of things, yeah. So, and they had ATC at that time, which was the academically talented class. And fourth graders and fifth graders, I believe, maybe fifth and sixth, I can't remember. But it doesn't matter. Were selected from a pool of people and some criteria and so forth.
It was a gifted program?
It was a gifted program that kids would be taken out 1 day a week and work on special things. And I remember, I won't mention the kid's name, Paul Broderick, but Paul Broderick was one of the nicest kids. His shoes were untied, his shirt was out here, and he was bright. And then when he got selected, some parents had the nerve to say to me, "What are you doing?" I looked at him, I go, "You don't know what you're talking about." I didn't say anything else. Paul became a national scholarships winner in Spelman. And about 5 years ago, I'm at Bridgewater. I used to do supervision of student teachers. And every January, we would meet again, go over all the demographics of the students, their family income, how many worked, how many did this, how many did that, blah, 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 blah. And it was really good. And they said, we're going to do a warm-up exercise. Go around a table and introduce it. Well, I'm very shy, so I went over to this first table, and I go like this, and my name is Tom Evans from Whitman, and this guy with a beard and everything goes, are you Tom Evans from the whole school? I said, yeah. Paul and Brett. Paul and Brett! We hugged like we were lost, found, friends. And then the next day, and the second part of it was a computer program that was involved in it. And this man came up to me. He was elderly, more elderly than I was. And he says, excuse me, was that you and that guy? I said, yeah, he was in my school. He says, I've never seen anything like it. He kept talking afterwards. I go, that's the school. It's not me. It's the school. Albin Bennick, I mean, all of them, Miss Crowley, Mrs. Colbert, Peter Nemi. I mean, really a lot of good people.
You had a lot of experience there.
Yeah. A lot of fun, too, Yeah.
What building and/or business do you miss most from Whitman, and why?
Which building or... Buildings don't mean too much to me, to be honest with you. Everybody says, do you miss the school down at the police station? No, I really don't. But I would say if there was anything, the house that was out up across on Bedford Street, I can't remember the name of it. It's purple? No, what was it called?
The Swain House.
Excuse me?
Was it the Swain House?
I don't know if it was a Swain House, but it had a beautiful stained glass window and it burned. And the other building, I guess, would be the Toll House. Yeah. And then the Dyer School, too. That was a crime because that school was still usable, even though it had been closed, too.
It closed down and it...
Yeah. Decline in enrollments and they consolidated the schools.
What about the Toll House? Can I know a bit more about that? It was like, because I know it was the first place where the chocolate chip cookie was made.
Yeah, the Wakefield's. Well, what I'll tell you about is I didn't have any money to go there. It was too expensive. I didn't go, but my son worked there. He worked there the winter that it burned. The reputation they had was one of precision, of taking your order without writing it down, and knowing that, and tending to every person came in like they're the most important. You can't lose that. You can't lose with it.
Now it's gone.
It's gone. Yeah. But something else will come up.
It will. Who is the most impressive Whitman resident you knew, and why?
Oh my gosh, there are a lot of good ones. They really are. And it's hard to say one, and I thought about this because I knew that was going to be one of the questions. I'm going to say a couple of three people. One would be Joe McCarthy, who used to be a selectman, a finance committee, county commissioner, real estate, so forth. I had his kids in school, and he said to me after the second or third year, get involved in the town. And I went, why? Because you need it, blah, blah, blah. So I did, and you know what? It's the best thing that ever happened to me. So he was really a good guy, very supportive. In fact, the first year that we had our outdoor education, people asked us in the meeting, and parents said, how are you going to fund this? Albin Bennick goes, we're going to have a garage sale at Evans's. I go, what? I don't know anything about it. So Peter Nemi, one of our great teachers, he put a front page ad in the Brockton Enterprise for a whole week. And guess how many people showed up? A lot. February 8th, that's when it was, whatever the year was. And I ended up breaking up fights between guys fighting over tools. We have beautiful tools that were given to it. And Paul and Bennett comes in and says, hey, Evans, I want you to go there to fight. I said, you're bigger than I am. I go in there. So I said, I'm just like, look, listen, you two, decide what you're going to do or nobody's getting the tools. And I walked away. After that, I got a phone call. It's Joe McCarthy, the fellow I just mentioned. What are you doing? I said, what? You didn't have a permit for this. I said, you need one? Yeah. And you're directing traffic on Route 2. I said, I didn't know. He says, I'll go get the permit. I said, all right. But my house was a mess afterwards. And everybody used my bathroom. My rugs were all filthy. But it was fun. It was fun. We didn't do it again there, though. Yeah.
Yes, sir. In your opinion, what has changed the most in Whitman, good or bad?
Well, you can't live in the past. I think there's a commitment to town. I can think of a lot of situations over the years where people have lost their jobs, or had a fire, or had a tragedy, and this town has always come through. Always, always, always. I realize we don't have the highest per capita, but we do have a high loyalty and a high spirit and a high can-do-it attitude. I really do. And particularly the last few years, I've seen a change from about 15 years ago where everything was everybody fighting everybody for every department to we got to make it together and we can't all win. So I think that, and the people who come in continue to get involved in the town, and you're only as good as the development, So I think that spirit has continued and grown, to be honest with you.
You don't see that much in America anymore, like towns coming together.
Well, yeah.
Community.
I think, Jonathan, I can only speak from my own background, but when you had people living who were your cousins and your aunts and your neighbors up and down the house and across the street and within the town, and then as you become in some ways more mobile with communication and degrees and going out and spreading out and getting a job over this part of the state and that part of the country. And then next thing you know, you're connected by Wi-Fi rather than a daily visit.
Yeah.
So I think that's what makes it a little harder. But again, there are a lot of pockets in this town where people are really, really close. And again, when you ask a group of people, whether it be the soccer or basketball or Scouts or the Mothers Club, they come through.
Indeed.
VFW, another example, and the Legion. A lot of those groups do a lot more than you think. A lot more than you think. Yeah.
Right. If you could have any wish that you would bring to Whitman now, what would it be and why?
Dodgers World Series again. Oh no, we're only 8-0. What do I think? Probably the ability for somebody to come from outside the community to help financially burden people. You hear people saying that the elderly, well, I guess I'm one of them now, but I don't think about it myself, but I do think of a lot of people who have worked all their life and they're in their 70s or 80s, and now they have to sacrifice to decide whether they buy the medicine or keep the heat at a comfortable area, amount, whatever, I'm not against government doing more. Government does a lot of good things. It has to do it wisely. And I think if the people are listened to, that can increase, quite frankly. Yeah.
Most people in the town don't have access to the necessities you brought up. So.
Oh, just look at the. I just did a health assessment with the help of Carolyn O'Reilly, who used to be my school nurse. We did an assessment, and we found out that the elderly, they can't get to the doctors. One, doctor's appointments are too rigid and too far apart. Two, they either can't drive or they can't see to drive. Then they get on the telehealth, and the computer's foreign to them. They can't manipulate it. Or they're there and they're, hi, hit number 6, option 4, when you want option 6, which doesn't exist. So it's like really the confusing, and it makes it harder. So that's one of the things. Transportation too. People who want to go to a doctor's appointment. Council on Aging, really good about that. But you can't, not everybody goes to Council on Aging. Not everybody interfaces with them. So yeah, I think those kinds of services are things that we'd like to see more. I'd like to see a youth center too for our kids from about 12 to 16. Instead of hanging around the park or the basketball hoop or downtown or any place, give them something to do. Open up the fields, playing fields at night, whether it be softball or intramural, I don't care what it is. Same in the summertime. Everybody doesn't have a uniform. Years ago, there was a fellow who ran a baseball league. It was all, every day you came, whoever came, picked it up and they played ball. And guess what? Really, really valuable. You get kids off the technology. No, you do. Because a lot of them, and then some kids who don't make teams, they fail. There's a tryout and they don't make it. They're relegated to being spectators. The 8 or 10, they go, I'm not going to go through this again and be humiliated. But 5 years from then, 13, 14, they're the athletes, and the kids who made it, they've gone to, So there's a lot of things, and you can't solve them all, but I think you can address them all and have a plan for it.
You certainly can. Well, is there anything we left out you would like to talk about?
Yeah, I had to talk about when I was principal. Some funny things. Do you want to hear some funny things?
I do.
All right, here's one of the first ones. First year, we're having an open house. I think it was parent conference. And I'm up in the second floor, and Joan Turner comes to me, Mr. Evans, somebody just threw a big boulder through the window in the cafeteria. Where? He says, oh, he's long gone. I said, where'd he go? Front door, out the way. I go up there and I look and I see 3 kids, and I start running. One goes off. I go, you're going to get yours. I'm running. He goes in the backyards, and he goes over by the post office, and there's a little hedge. I go, piece of cake. Unfortunately, there was a fence inside that caught me, and my glasses went like this. And I was so angry. And I used to run a lot, so it was a piece of cake. So I go over by the police station, and I stop breathing, I go, and I hear, over to the police station. He lived on Court Street. Anyway, that was one. Another one, I'm downstairs on what was the old high school, and the last is the Holt School, which is now the police station. And the superintendent was giving a speech downstairs, a presentation to parents. And there was a fair over by the memorial field or someplace over there. And he says, could you go upstairs and get something? I said, sure, I'll go upstairs. I'm all dressed up. I go upstairs. I get to the first landing, and all of a sudden, a softball comes through the window, and glass shatters down on me. I go, so I go to the front door, and I see these 3 kids. I go, I'm getting that one. So I go after the kid. I run across the street, over the thing, over to Maple Street, over there, and the kid goes to get up the fence, and I go, by the pants, and I go, I know who you are. You're going with me. And I go, yeah, he didn't say anything. I didn't know who he was. So I said to the kid, you stay here. When my meeting's done, you better be here. Miraculously, he was. So he wasn't the brightest, smartest little bulb. So I said to him, who's the other 2 kids? I'm not telling you. I said, you better tell me. No, not. So I put my hand on the release. I'm not going to call. I make believe I call the police. I'll tell you. So he tells me who they are. Another one, this is one of the funniest ones. I didn't catch anybody. We're sitting at the Corthell building. All the principals were there for negotiations, and there were 2 guys, me and Mitty McGoodwin, and all of us were women, and some were older. Again, windows smashing glasses, and Mitty says, hit the door. I said, the hell with that. I'm after him. I go running, and it was a full moon, and the snow was built into the guy's driveway. I thought it was level. Boom! I went flying like this, and I started laughing. I'm not getting that, kid.
The windows being shattered all the time.
No. And then here's another one. When we went from the Holt School over to the old high school, during the summer, they fixed 160-something windows that were broken. I go, wow, what is this? So a few more got broken. So I said to the police, I said to Harry Bates, I said, Harry, get me a walkie-talkie. I'm going to sit there tonight. He said, what do you mean? I said, give me a all right. I stayed there like 2:30 in the morning. I couldn't find anybody, right? So I didn't get anybody. First day of school, everything's been repaired. And then there's this awful, awful message with obscenities all over the place, painted on the wall. And I go, and the kids say, oh, Mr. I go, somebody's a bad guy, blah, blah, blah. And this little girl, and I won't mention her name, she says, I know who did that. I said, oh, you do? Yeah, it was blank, blank, blank. I said, really? Yeah. I said, oh, really? And I go, I run by this school every day. I used to run from my house to the railroad tracks and back. Brown house, blue interior in the hallway. Brown and blue. I go, oh. I called up John Travers, who was the acting police chief. I said, John, I tell him what's going on. I said, I'm going to play a Plan X. All right? Go ahead, Tom. I said, all right, let's do it. So I call up the parent and I say, hi, Mr. X. I'm going to tell you something. I think your boy has been painting foul messages. I'm thinking, oh, I'll ask him. I go, oh, go ahead. Blank? Did you do that? No. Let me get him on the phone. Hi, I said to the kid. He said, hi, Mr. President. Hi. I said, let me just tell you something. One, somebody's already seen you, and two, I took those paints and I put them to the lab, state paint lab, and they already matched it, and you did it, huh? Tell your father, I did it, Dad. Right? So I said, let me talk to your father. Father said, oh, Mr. Evans, I'm sorry. I said, I find one more broken window or anything, you're getting the bill for the 165 or so. I was there 8 years. Boink. I mean, I think I'm a little smarter than an average 8-year-old, but not always. Oh, here's another funny one. Bathroom. We just got over to the school, and the boys' room was right off the office, probably up from here to maybe the first rack of books. And somebody kept messing around there, urinating on the radiators and doing this. And I, master of catching everybody, couldn't catch this kid. I could not catch him. So I said, let's see the usual suspects. So I call in about 6 kids. I bring them all down there, all looking at you. I said, somebody's been doing this. And of course, they all look around like, are you going to tell them? I said, I'm going to tell you what. You guys are the smartest and the toughest kids in the school. And you know what? I'm going to start cups. What's that? Cleanup patrol. I made it up on the spot. And if that place stays clean, I'll give you all the biggest ice cream sundae in June that you ever saw. You understand? Yeah, Mr. Evans. No, rest of the year. But I forgot. And then the last week or so, they go, don't forget the ice cream. I said, oh, I didn't forget it. Yeah. But that's what you do, You don't always be the boss in the sense of throwing out the baby with the water, Yeah. Anyway, those are some stories. I had a lot of fun stories with my staff too, but I haven't got all day, and you don't want to hear it.
No, I can hear it. I think we're wrapping up our interview now. Well, thank you, Thomas Evans, for being here, and thank you for watching. That's our interview.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It's fun.
This too.
Yeah.